I watched the room go still when Neil raised his glass in that elegant Dublin restaurant and said, "I'm beginning a new life without you." We were gathered to toast our daughter Eleanor's graduation, but he hijacked the moment, silencing all celebration. 40 pairs of eyes turned to me, anticipating my collapse. Instead, I stood, calm and measured, and smiled. "My name is Helena Reed, 57, I began, voice steady as I met each stunned gaze. Until now, I played the perfect partner. I had placed my career ambitions on hold for 3 major business ventures Neil launched, supported him through midlife whims, and raised Eleanor, now sitting beside me, mortarboard askew, disbelief carved on her face. From the corner of my eye, I caught sight of Ava Chambers, his much younger partner in his shadow life, shrinking at a distant table among my so-called friends who'd kept her secret. With deliberate grace, I retrieved a pale folder from my purse and placed it gently in front of Neil. He stared at it, confusion eclipsing his triumph. "Here's something for you to read later," I said. Then I turned to Eleanor, kissed her temple. "Today is about you," I whispered. "Go celebrate." Then I faced the room. "Enjoy your meal. I hope your afternoon is filled with joy." I exited with my head held high, the soft click of the tall door behind me cutting off rising whispers. The Dublin air hit me, fresh and freeing. I walked as explanations crashed behind me, Neil's voice shrinking in anger and disbelief. He had just triggered the beginning of my reckoning. I had spent years balancing his risk-filled ventures with my tenure in corporate finance. When his restaurant venture collapsed, I stepped in with extra hours. When he abandoned stability for woodworking fantasies, I picked up the debt. He thought I was forgetful of my own dreams, to open a financial consultancy for women. I told myself I'd get to it after Eleanor's graduation, or after Neil found his way. Then, 3 months ago, I noticed odd transactions from our joint account into one I didn't recognize. As someone who'd managed our finances for 2 decades, I sensed the signal: betrayal. I didn't confront him. I documented it. I traced each odd transfer. I collected airport receipts, hotel tabs, real estate searches. I found the messages when he left his phone unlocked, discussions of their new life, their plans for the morning after the graduation. Neil had forgotten I'd been a financial controller for 30 years, a forensic money trail expert, and that prenups still carry legal weight decades later. The one he insisted on, ironically, to protect his future success, included a fidelity clause, a clause that would now define his downfall. If stories of resilience, courage, and emotional justice inspire you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. There's so much more coming your way. I prepped for months. Lawyers, subscriptions, affidavits, all consoling, all necessary. I filed the divorce notice, sealed in court files before his toast. Then I never returned to the restaurant. Instead, I drove to our shared home in Dublin's historic district, a house Neil had already promised to Ava, or so his messages suggested. Inside, everything felt familiar, but the path to our bedroom was lined with packed luggage, his quiet confession. I texted Eleanor, "I'm okay. Your day is yours. I love you." I protected her from my storm until now. Neil burst in hours later, rage in his eyes. "Why today?" he demanded. "I timed it for today," I said quietly. "Your day of departure, ready or not." He balked at the prenup's enforcement. I guided him to the clause, Section 14, it's been effective all these years. His lawyer didn't catch it, did they? Color drained from his face. The estate, the savings, the future, all slipping. He pleaded, "This is too cold. We have history." "I was always faithful, Neil," I replied. "Betrayal is what's unforgivable." He tried apology. "Maybe we can salvage this. But some bridges, once scorched, won't welcome return." He sat up abruptly, tension stretching his voice across the silence. "This has been calculated for over a year," I said, every word measured. "You diverted our money, toured beachfront properties with her, and chose the day of our daughter's graduation to humiliate me publicly." His expression hardened. "That's an exaggeration," he spat. I met his gaze and hit play on my phone. His own voice filled the room. After the graduation, I'll announce it, public setting is better. Then Cassandra's voice, she trusts you completely. That's her weakness. His face drained of color. You recorded us? He accused. I paused. Not in Massachusetts, I corrected him quietly, but here in Georgia, a one-party consent state, it's perfectly legal when you're part of the conversation, and this is your own home. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. I didn't record your private moments with Cassandra, just your plans to defraud me. He stood abruptly. I need to make some calls, he said. I'm sure your attorney would love that, I offered lightly. I'm staying with Diana tonight. At Diana's? He sputtered. My sister, I repeated, dismissive. She's already quite bitter with you. I watched as realization broke him again. Diana had confronted him about Cassandra last Christmas. He had brushed her off. When she saw the signs again and realized he never stopped, she came to me. Even his own sister had turned away. Everyone's betraying me, he muttered. Isn't that ironic? I asked, gathering my purse and an overnight bag. You have until tomorrow evening to remove your things. After that, the locks will be changed. His voice cracked as he followed me toward the door. What about Amelia? I turned, pulled myself erect. Don't use her as your shield, I warned. You weren't thinking about her when you were planning a beachfront life with another woman. His phone buzzed. He looked, groaned. Problem? Cassandra moved her things into the apartment you put both your names on. He frowned, confused. What apartment? I smiled. That lease application last month? Flagged for credit issues. Never completed. The agent called our home to verify, and I took care of it. I walked out, leaving him to the ruin of his illusions. The judge's voice echoed through the quiet courtroom. There's no expiration clause present, she declared, scanning the prenup with sharp scrutiny. Across the table, Spencer leaned in to whisper urgently to his clearly flustered attorney, a junior associate from a Manhattan corporate firm, unprepared for this kind of courtroom. And according to Section 24, the judge continued, flipping a page, the systematic redirection of funds violates financial disclosure obligations. This court will uphold the freeze on joint assets until full discovery is complete. Mr. Whitman's personal funds remain accessible for essential living expenses only. The primary residence will remain in Mrs. Whitman's care, in accordance with the fidelity clause. The red creeping across Spencer's face told me everything. This is insane, he muttered. The judge gave him a cutting glance. Mr. Whitman, I suggest you read what you sign next time. We reconvene in 30 days. Outside the courtroom, he caught up with me in the hallway. Eleanor, come on. 28 years. That has to mean something. I didn't stop walking. It meant everything, until you threw it away. I left him standing there, surrounded by polished marble and echoes of a life he'd dismantled with his own hands. Word spread fast. In our social circle of Hampton's brunches and private club events, everyone wanted the story. I gave them only this: we're separating. It happens. But that wasn't what they wanted, just enough to know I wasn't broken. But Spencer? The cracks showed quickly. Without access to our joint accounts, his entire illusion unraveled. The penthouse deal fell through. The Porsche lease? Cancelled. And Cassandra? Gone, 2 weeks post-hearing. Diana called me laughing. She packed up and moved out, she said. Told her friends she didn't sign up to date a man with money problems. Classic Cassandra. While his world crumbled, I quietly began to rebuild mine. I leased a small workspace near downtown Boston, just off Commonwealth Avenue. Finally, I launched the consultancy I'd shelved for 2 decades, Whitman Financial Transitions. My first clients? 2 women in their 40s navigating painful divorces. By the end of the month, I was getting referrals faster than I could handle. This wasn't just work. It was healing. Amelia, now working in Chicago at a major branding firm, called me every other day. "You're doing something real, Mom," she said. "Something meaningful." I smiled. "I'm just giving women what I wish I had earlier, a way out with dignity, power, and clarity." 6 months later, my calendar was booked out 3 months in advance. I had hired 2 associates, both women I'd once mentored. My small office had grown into an entire suite. The final hearing fell on what would have been our 29th anniversary. Poetic, really. Spencer arrived looking thinner, gray around the temples, and clearly exhausted. His company had downsized. His reputation, once spotless, was now marred by whispers and empty promises. Cassandra? Last I heard, she was dating a real estate investor from Atlanta. The judge ruled in my favor on every front. I kept the house, most of our shared investments, and full ownership of my retirement accounts. Spencer walked away with a suitcase, a strained checking account, and a whole lot of regret. Outside the courthouse, he approached me one last time. "I made a terrible mistake," he said, almost whispering. "Is there any way?" "No," I said, softly but firmly. "That door is closed." He nodded. "I hope you find happiness, Eleanor. You deserve it." For the first time in years, I believed he meant it. The irony? The prenup he forced me to sign, back when I was the one with more assets, had been his undoing. Whitman Financial Transitions thrived. I specialized in guiding women through the darkest chapters of their lives and showing them the blueprint to build something new. Something strong. Amelia visited often and once said, if Dad had just been honest, he might have kept half. I laughed. He couldn't see past what he wanted in the moment. Because he never understood, what I truly wanted was never revenge. It was reinvention. That envelope I placed beside his plate? It wasn't a threat. It was a key. Not to a fight. But to freedom. 6 months became a year. Then 2. Whitman Financial Transitions was no longer just a consultancy, it had become a sanctuary. I hosted monthly workshops for women in transition, taught online courses about financial literacy, and even partnered with a nonprofit that helped survivors of domestic and financial abuse. My story, once something I kept private, began to circulate quietly among clients and colleagues. Not the scandal, but the strength. The rebirth. I became a mentor not just for numbers, but for resilience. Amelia helped rebrand the company as Whitman and Wells, a nod to both our family and to the women we served. Cassandra's last name, ironically, fit beautifully on the letterhead. Amelia smirked when she suggested it. "Let's reclaim what tried to break us," she said. I smiled. Let's. I spoke at universities and conferences. The woman who once silently supported a man's dreams now stood before rooms full of strangers, women, mostly, reminding them that power and peace can coexist. That beginnings don't always look like we expect. And Spencer? He eventually moved to a modest condo outside Hartford. I heard from mutual friends that he works as a consultant for a mid-sized logistics firm. His name doesn't hold weight anymore. When people say Whitman now, they're talking about me. I no longer think of the restaurant scene as the end. It was a pivot point. A spark. Because that day, amidst betrayal and heartbreak, I didn't lose everything, I reclaimed it. And if I could leave anyone listening with one truth, it would be this. You are never too old, too far gone, or too broken to rewrite your story. The ending you feared might just be the beginning you needed. Did Helena's journey move you? Then subscribe, share this with someone who needs strength today, and comment below, what part of this story hit you the hardest?